The hum turned into a roar, the floor beneath them trembled, dust rained from the ceiling. Claire grabbed Evan and Dove behind a fallen display pillar. Across the atrium, the men stopped, shielding their eyes as the glow intensified. "Shut it down," one of them shouted. "Kill the feed," but it was too late. The light burst upward from the cracks in the floor, swirling in concentric circles like a living storm. It wasn't just illumination, it was matter, liquid and radiant, rising through the fissures like veins of molten gold. Evan screamed, covering his face. Claire held him tight, eyes wide as the energy spiraled higher, touching the ceiling before collapsing inward. And then, silence. When she opened her eyes again, the light was gone. The men were gone too. Only the echo of their voices lingered, swallowed by the vast emptiness. Claire stood slowly, her knees weak. The cracks in the floor still glowed faintly, as if embers were trapped beneath the concrete. She whispered to herself, "It's awake." Evan clutched her hand, trembling. "What do we do now?" She looked down at him, her face pale, eyes hollow but fierce. "We finish what he started," she said. "We shut it down." From the depths below, a low, metallic rumble answered her, a sound that wasn't quite mechanical and not quite alive. As the last flicker of gold faded from the floor, Claire realized the fight for Silver Wood wasn't about survival anymore. It was about containment. Night returned like a bruise across the sky. Silverwood Mall was darker than it had ever been. Every light extinguished, every window reflecting nothing but storm clouds and silence. Yet even without electricity, the faint hum beneath the floor continued, steady and deep, like a heartbeat that refused to die. Claire crouched beside a toppled pillar near the atrium's center, her flashlight off. She watched the mall through the narrow crack between marble and shadow, her breath controlled, her mind sharp despite the exhaustion clawing at her. The men were back. She could hear their boots, the hollow rhythm of trained movement echoing across the vast, empty hall. Their flashlights cut thin, precise lines through the dark. They didn't wander aimlessly like scavengers. They were organized, speaking in short commands over muffled radios. She caught a fragment of a voice: Team 2, secure the sublevel. Authorization hail. Sigma clearance confirmed. Her stomach dropped. Hail, that name again. Whoever these men were, they were connected to the man who had built this nightmare, and possibly whatever still lived inside it. Evan lay hidden behind her, under a blanket, clutching his backpack like a shield. His wide eyes reflected the faint light seeping through the cracks. "Mom," he whispered, "they're the same people from before, aren't they?" "Yes," she whispered back, "and this time they know we're still here." She pressed her ear to the cold floor. The hum was different tonight, less mechanical, more alive. It rose and fell in waves, matching the rhythm of the men's movements, almost responding to them. The mall could feel them too. "Stay here," Claire said. "If anything happens, run toward the west exit. Don't stop for me." Evan's voice cracked. "No, I'm not leaving you again." Her chest tightened, but there was no time to argue. She brushed his hair back gently, kissed his forehead, and whispered, "Then stay quiet, no matter what." She rose silently, slipping through the corridor toward the management wing. The darkness swallowed her whole. The only sound was the distant hum, and the faint static of radio chatter echoing off the walls. The hallway smelled like damp plaster and metal. Her shoes made no sound against the floor. She'd learned how to move like the silence itself. Ahead, one of the men stood near the old security office, the same place where she'd once seen the monitors flicker to life on their own. He was checking the control panel, muttering under his breath. Claire crouched behind a cracked wall, straining to hear. System core still responding, internal sensors online, signal spike matches preach, at down readings, vault breach confirmed. Another voice came through his earpiece. Retrieve the signature. If it's reactivated, we don't have much time before it spreads again. Retrieve the signature. The phrase pulsed through her brain, sharp and cryptic. She peeked out just as the man crouched to connect a cable to a small scanning device. Its screen glowed faintly, pulsing in the same golden hue she'd seen radiating from the floor. Her hand tightened around the small metal wrench she'd picked up earlier, a desperate weapon, but something solid nonetheless. Then, from the radio, Agent Rourke, confirm. Did the Lawson subject make contact with the vault directly? The man straightened. Affirmative. Thermal trace shows full palm scan match. She's bonded. Bonded. Claire's breath caught. She stumbled back a half step, a floorboard creaking beneath her weight. The man froze. He turned sharply, flashlight cutting through the dark. The beam swept across the corridor, slicing dangerously close to where she crouched. Who's there? Claire bolted. The shout came instantly. Movement. North hallway. She sprinted down the corridor, her feet pounding against the tile, echoing like gunfire in the silence. The hum in the walls surged in rhythm with her heartbeat, louder, angrier. Behind her, flashlights flared, boots thundered. Stop, hands up. She darted into a side passage, slamming the door of an old maintenance closet behind her. The darkness was suffocating. She pressed her back against the wall, chest heaving, listening as the men's footsteps drew closer. Sector 5, check the storage wing. One of the flashlights passed the crack under the door, flooding it with white for half a second. Then silence. Claire waited. 1 minute, 2, 3. When she finally exhaled, the sound felt deafening. She reached for her flashlight but stopped. There was already light inside the room, a faint golden shimmer. She turned slowly. At the back of the closet, where the wall met the floor, a thin line of gold pulsed like a heartbeat through the concrete. It traced upward in delicate threads, into the ceiling, into the walls, spreading like veins. The hum deepened. Claire whispered, "What are you doing to me?" The golden light responded, brighter now, throbbing once before dimming again, almost like it had understood her. She stepped back, terrified but unable to look away. The air thickened with static, her hair rising on her arms. Then, faintly, beneath the noise, she heard it. A voice, not in the room, not through her ears, but inside her skull. "Claire, Lawson." She froze. The voice was smooth, low, and resonant. Neither male nor female, but something between. It spoke with the patience of time itself. "You opened the gate. You carry the mark." Claire shook her head violently. No, I didn't. I didn't mean to. The vault remembers its keeper." Her pulse pounded so hard she thought she'd pass out. "What are you?" Silence. Then, softer. The beginning. The lights outside flickered violently. The hum turned to a low roar, the entire corridor trembling. Claire stumbled back as the golden light from the walls flashed blindingly bright, then vanished completely, plunging the room into black. The door burst open. Two of the men stormed in, flashlights flaring, hands where I can see them. Claire raised her arms instinctively, blinking against the light. "Don't shoot," she gasped. One of them grabbed her arm, pulling her roughly into the hall. "Claire Lawson, correct." She nodded, breathless. "Who are you?" The man's face was unreadable beneath his helmet. "The people trying to clean up your mess." Before she could speak again, he pressed a small device against her wrist. It beeped once, scanning. The man's eyes widened slightly. "She's resonating." "Resonating?" Claire snapped. "What does that mean?" He looked at his partner. "She's keyed to the vault now. She's not just a breach, she's part of the system." Claire jerked her arm free. "You don't know what you're talking about." The hum intensified again, vibrating through the walls. The man raised his voice over the noise. "You need to come with us. Now." "Why?" Because whatever's beneath this place just recognized you as its new operator. The sound of the hum spiked suddenly, rising into a sharp, almost human scream. The lights exploded overhead, raining glass across the hallway. The men dove for cover, radios blaring with static. Claire didn't wait. She ran. She sprinted down the hall toward the atrium, toward Evan. The noise followed her, chasing through the corridors like a storm of electricity and rage. When she reached the main floor, she saw him, curled beneath the broken fountain, eyes wide. He looked up as she grabbed him. "Mom, what's happening?" She pulled him close, whispering through the chaos, "We have to go, now." From behind them, one of the men shouted through the smoke and sparks, "Lawson, you can't outrun it. It's linked to you." Claire didn't turn back. She just ran, clutching Evan's hand as the hum roared to life beneath the floor, shaking the ground beneath their feet. And somewhere deep below, beneath the vault, the thing inside the core stirred for the first time in years, its light bleeding through the cracks, reaching for the woman who had set it free. The ground felt alive. Every tile beneath Claire's feet trembled as if the mall itself were breathing through the cracks, inhaling her fear and exhaling something darker. She and Evan sprinted through the darkened atrium, their footsteps echoing in waves that melted into the growing hum, reverberating through the air. Behind them came the shouts of the armed men, voices lost beneath the thunderous rhythm of machinery awakening. Red emergency lights flickered on one by one, staining the marble floors in blood. Colored pulses. "Mom," Evan cried, his voice cracking through the chaos. "Where are we going?" "Outside," she shouted, gripping his hand tighter. "We have to get out before—" Her words were swallowed by a deep mechanical groan that tore through the building, rattling the ceiling and sending shards of glass tumbling down from the skylight. They dove behind a row of rusted planters as debris rained down. When Claire looked up, the skylight itself had begun to warp, its metal frames twisting, bending as if reacting to invisible pressure from above. "Mom," Evan whispered, trembling, "it's coming from underneath." She followed his gaze. The fountain at the center of the mall, the one that had long dried up, was glowing. Not a soft shimmer this time, but a radiant, molten gold spilling through the cracks like veins of fire. The hum deepened. Louder, angrier, almost aware, Claire pulled Evan close. "Don't look at it." She shielded his eyes just as the glow erupted upward in a violent burst. The air cracked with energy, light flooding the atrium until everything became shadowless and unreal. For a moment, it felt like gravity itself vanished, like the whole building was being torn between time and space. Then, in an instant, the light collapsed. Silence followed, sharp and unnatural. Even the air seemed to pause. Claire blinked against the afterimage still burning in her vision. The glow was gone, but something new had taken its place. In the middle of the fountain, where the cracks had split wide open, a circular metal hatch had surfaced, engraved with the same sigil she'd seen in the ledger. The core had revealed itself. Evan tugged her sleeve, his voice small. "Mom, someone's in there." Claire froze. "What?" He pointed, and sure enough, faintly, through the haze of steam rising from the hatch, was the outline of a figure. Not walking, not running, rising, her pulse thudded in her ears. "Evan, get back." She shoved him behind a column just as the hatch twisted open with a sound like tearing metal. From within came a rush of cold air, thick with the stench of earth and ozone. And then, out of the pit, a hand emerged. It wasn't decayed. It was clean, pale, perfectly preserved, as though time hadn't touched it. A gold watch glinted on its wrist. Claire knew that watch. She'd seen it in a photograph in Hale's office. "Mr. Hale?" she whispered, horrified. The man who'd vanished in 2008 climbed out of the core, his movements smooth but wrong. He stood upright, his clothes half burned, his eyes vacant and white. For a long moment he said nothing, just turned slowly toward Claire, his head tilting like a puppet testing its strings. Then he spoke, his voice cold and calm. "Too calm for a man risen from the dark." "You shouldn't have opened it, Claire." Her heart nearly stopped. "You're dead." His lips twitched into something that might have once been a smile. "I was." Behind him, the light from the pit pulsed again, casting shadows that moved even when he didn't. She backed away, gripping Evan's arm. "Stay behind me." Hale stepped closer, barefoot on the tile. Each step left faint golden footprints that faded after a second. His voice softened, almost mournful. "You think you freed something. You didn't. You just handed it a voice." "I don't understand," Claire whispered. He gestured to the walls around them. "This building was never a mall. It was a mask, a containment shell. I built it because I thought I could bury what we found. But the core, it adapts, it learns, and it needed someone new to bond with." The realization hit her like ice. "You mean me?" Hale nodded once, slow and deliberate. "It needed a signature, a mind it could survive through. You signed it when you touched the vault." Evan whimpered softly. "Mom, he's scaring me." Claire's eyes filled with tears. "Why me?" "Because you were desperate enough to listen." Hale said, "That's how it begins. Desperation opens the door. Curiosity keeps it open." He took another step closer. The air around him shimmered faintly with gold, heat rising in visible waves. "You can't destroy it," he murmured, "but you can still contain it, if you're willing to pay the same price I did." Claire's voice trembled. "What price?" "Everything that makes you human." A sharp crack shattered the moment. Gunfire from the upper level. One of the armed men had returned, aiming down at Hale. "Don't move," he barked. But Hale only tilted his head toward the man, and in that instant the air rippled. The gunman screamed, dropping his weapon as golden light tore through his body like lightning. He convulsed, then fell still, his skin glowing faintly before turning gray as ash. Claire gasped, "Oh my God!" Hale looked back at her, unbothered. "You can't kill what's already part of the system." The hum grew louder now, violent, unstable. The walls shook as cracks spidered across the marble floor. Somewhere in the distance, metal supports screamed under invisible pressure. Evan clung to her. "Mom, what do we do?" She didn't know. For the first time, she truly didn't know. Every instinct screamed to run, but her legs wouldn't move. She was trapped between the thing she'd unleashed and the thing it now wore. Hale's expression softened again, almost pitying. "You have one chance left. Seal the core before it stabilizes, or it'll spread beyond these walls." "How?" she demanded. He turned toward the fountain, where the pit still glowed faintly. "It'll show you how. It always does. But be careful what it takes in return." Then his voice began to distort, layered with static, glitching like an old transmission. His form flickered, fragments of his body blurring into waves of light. "It's waking up," he said, his tone fracturing. "I can't hold it anymore." "Hold what?" Claire shouted. Hale's face cracked into something inhuman, eyes shining white, mouth stretching into a soundless scream. The golden light surged around him, swallowing his body until there was nothing left but brilliance. Then he was gone. The hum stopped. The light vanished. The only sound was Evan's panicked breathing and the faint hiss of cooling air. Claire stumbled backward, pulling her son into her arms. "Mom," he whispered, shaking. Was he real? She looked toward the empty space where Hale had stood. The tiles where his footprints had burned were now cold and gray. "I don't know," she said softly, "but whatever he wasn't lying." A faint vibration rolled through the floor again, subtle but steady. The light beneath the cracks had dimmed, but it hadn't died. Claire turned toward the fountain. The hatch was still open, the pit yawning below like a mouth that refused to close, and from its depths came a single slow whisper, one that didn't echo in the air but inside her mind, "Finish what he started." Her heart clenched. The hum began again, quieter this time, like the sound of blood rushing through her veins. She turned to Evan, gripping his shoulders. "Listen to me. Whatever happens next, you run when I say, understand?" He nodded, trembling. "Mom, what are you going to do?" She looked toward the core, her face pale but fierce. "I'm going to end this." As she stepped closer to the open hatch, the golden light stirred once more, rising to greet her like something that had been waiting all along. And in that quiet, electric glow, Silverwood Mall finally chose its new keeper. By dawn, Silverwood Mall no longer felt abandoned. It was awake, breathing through the cracks of its foundation, pulsing beneath the marble floors like veins of something alive. Claire could hear it even when she tried not to, the faint rhythmic hum that matched her heartbeat, whispering her name in tones too low for the air to carry. Evan hadn't slept. His small frame was wrapped in a blanket beside her, eyes fixed on the faint orange glow of the emergency lantern. He looked older now, his fear carving new lines into his young face. Claire's mind was fractured between exhaustion and fury. She had been lied to, used by forces that had seen her desperation as an opportunity. The government, Hale, the entity beneath the vault. They had all written her into a story that wasn't hers. But it was now. Outside, a single engine echoed through the stillness of morning. Claire stiffened. The sound was too smooth, too deliberate. Not thunder, not the storm, a vehicle. She rose slowly and crept toward the glass doors at the front of the mall. The sky outside was bruised purple, the horizon sharp with fog. A convoy had arrived. 3 black SUVs rolled to a stop at the base of the cracked entrance ramp. Their windows were tinted, their movements perfectly synchronized. Claire's breath caught. "They're here." Evan appeared beside her, voice trembling. "Who?" She stared through the fractured glass. "The people who think they still own this place." The car doors opened almost in unison. Men in dark suits stepped out, calm, silent, carrying briefcases and sidearms. They moved with the precision of people who didn't have to explain themselves. The last door opened more slowly, and from it stepped a tall man with silver hair slicked neatly back, a sharp coat untouched by the wind. He didn't look like a soldier, he looked like a banker, but the way the other men deferred to him made her skin crawl. She whispered, "That's not a government agent, that's a broker." They approached the entrance. Claire and Evan ducked behind a column as one of the men struck the glass with the butt of his gun. It cracked instantly, a spiderweb pattern spreading across the door. Another man followed with a crowbar. Within seconds, the main doors collapsed inward, shards scattering across the floor. The sound reverberated through the atrium like the first note of war. The silver-haired man stepped inside, his gaze sweeping across the dark expanse. His shoes crunched over broken glass, deliberate and unhurried. He spoke to no one, but his presence filled the entire hall. Claire could feel it, the same pull she'd felt from the core, only colder, human, made. The man looked around as though returning to a property he'd simply left unattended. "MS. Lawson," he called out, voice smooth as glass. "You've made quite a mess of our investment." Claire flinched. His tone was almost casual, as if this were a polite business meeting instead of an intrusion. He continued walking, his voice carrying. "You see, this mall was never for sale. That auction listing was an oversight. But then you, a woman of limited means, arrived and paid precisely what we needed to trigger the reactivation protocol." Almost poetic. Claire's pulse thundered. He knew everything. Evan whispered, "Mom, we have to go." She shook her head, whispering back, "If we run, they'll follow us. If we hide, they'll burn it down." The silver-haired man stopped near the fount. In the the same place where Hale had vanished in a storm of light just hours before. He looked down at the cracked marble, running a gloved hand across it. "You did open it," he said softly. "I can feel it." One of his men spoke up from behind him. "Sir, the containment readings are spiking again." "Good," the man replied, smiling faintly. "That means she's nearby." Claire's heart pounded. She took a slow step back, pulling Evan with her. But as she did, a flashlight beam cut through the dark, landing squarely on her face. "Over here," a guard shouted. The silver-haired man turned toward her, expression calm, almost amused. "MS Lawson." Claire stepped out from behind the column, her breath sharp and visible in the cold air. "You have no right to be here." "Oh, but I do," he said. "You signed over ownership when you made contact with the vault. You became part of the asset. You're standing on government property, holding something far more valuable than you can comprehend." Claire's jaw tightened. "It's not an asset. It's alive." That made him smile. So was Hale. The men began to fan out, forming a half-circle around her and Evan. Claire positioned herself between them instinctively. "Let the boy go," the man said. "He's irrelevant to the sequence. We only need you. Stay behind me." She whispered to Evan, then louder, "You'll have to kill me first." "That won't be necessary," he said smoothly. "The Corps prefers living conduits. Dead ones don't resonate." He reached into his coat pocket, pulling out a sleek, tablet-sized device. Its screen flickered with gold, the same pulse. "You feel it, don't you? The pull. It's responding to you even now. That hum, you can't escape its synchronization. You are the bridge." Claire shook her head. "I won't be part of it." "You already are," he said. "And if you don't cooperate, the containment will collapse, and that thing beneath us won't just wake. It will migrate." The floor beneath them trembled, faint at first, then harder. Dust rained from the skylight above. The Corps was listening. Claire's voice broke. "You don't understand. It's not controllable." "Everything is controllable," the man replied softly, "if you're willing to lose enough." The tremor turned into a violent quake. One of the guards stumbled, shouting, "Sir, it's rising again." "We have seconds." The silver-haired man's comm faltered. His eyes darted toward the floor as the golden cracks reappeared, snaking outward from the fountain. "Contain it," he barked. The men scrambled, setting up small metallic boxes that hummed with electrical energy. Claire recognized the frequency. It was the same pitch that echoed through the vault before the lights died. The air grew dense, vibrating with static. The hum became a roar. Evan covered his ears, crying out, "Mom, make it stop." Claire dropped to her knees, clutching him tightly. Her voice was lost in the storm of sound. The gold light burst upward again, blinding, consuming everything in its path. Through the glare, she saw the silver-haired man standing firm, unflinching, his device glowing in rhythm with the core. He smiled through the chaos. "This is it," he shouted over the noise. "This is rebirth." Claire screamed back, "No, it's feeding." The light swallowed them whole. When the brilliance faded, the men were gone. The SUV outside were gone. The air hung thick and motionless, the floor scorched black where they'd stood. Only Claire and Evan remained, alive but trembling. She stared at the smoking crater where the fountain once stood, the pulse still faint but steady beneath the ruin. Whatever she had unleashed had chosen sides, and this time it had protected her. As the silence returned to Silverwood, Claire realized something irreversible had shifted. The core no longer belonged to its creators. It belonged to her. The silence that followed was unbearable, not the peaceful kind of silence, but the kind that throbbed, that listened back. The air smelled of ozone and smoke, thick with the metallic tang of electricity. Claire stood frozen, the faint shimmer of gold still pulsing beneath her boots, slow and deliberate, like a heartbeat that refused to die. Evan trembled beside her, clutching her coat. His voice cracked. "Mom, where did they go?" Claire's breath came in shallow gasps. She turned toward the fount, in the blackened crater that still hissed with vapor. The men who had surrounded them were gone. No bodies. No trace, just ash scattered like fine dust across the marble. "They're gone," she whispered, "all of them." Her mind raced, not gone as in dead, gone as in taken. The Corps had done something deliberate. It hadn't lashed out blindly. It had responded to them, to their machines, to the device in the silver-haired man's hand. It had chosen. She stepped closer to the crater. The heat still radiated from it, but she couldn't look away. The center glowed faintly, like molten glass cooling beneath the surface. She could see her reflection in it, warped, faintly gold, her eyes shining with an unnatural light. "Mom," Evan said, voice shaking. "You're glowing." She looked down at her hands. The veins beneath her skin shimmered faintly gold for a moment before fading. She clenched her fists, horrified. "No, no, no, no." The hum returned, gentle this time, almost soothing. It whispered through the walls like a sigh. "You are part of it now." The voice wasn't outside anymore. It was inside her, a vibration in her bones, a whisper behind her heartbeat. Claire stumbled backward, pressing her palms against her ears. "Get out of my head." Evan clutched her arm, terrified. "Mom, what's happening to you?" She forced herself to breathe, to steady her shaking. "It's okay," she said, lying. "It's okay, honey. We just have to figure it out." But deep inside, she knew the truth. Hale had warned her. The silver-haired man had confirmed it. The Corps needed a conduit, someone alive to stabilize it, to feed its awareness. It had Hale once. Now it had her. A faint hum of static interrupted her thoughts. Somewhere nearby, a small light flickered. The red stand, by dot of a security camera. It shouldn't have been working. The power was gone. But one by one, more lights blinked on across the atrium. Cameras. Dozens of them, all turning, all focusing on her. The monitors in the security office roared to life upstairs. Through the broken door, she could see them flickering, displaying her image from every angle, her face on every screen. Evan gasped, "Mom, it's watching us." Claire swallowed hard. "No, it's watching me." The speakers in the walls crackled, alive again for the first time in years. Then, through the static, a familiar voice whispered, smooth, confident, echoing from memory. "Authorization, Hale. Sigma. Re-established." Her stomach turned cold. It was the silver-haired man's voice, but he was gone. She stepped closer to the fountain, staring into the glowing surface. "Where are you?" she demanded. The voice came again, distorted now, layered with static, not gone, not destroyed, integrated. The lights above her flickered once, twice, then stabilized, casting the atrium in a golden hue. The reflection in the crater changed. It wasn't hers anymore, it was his. The silver-haired man's face formed in the liquid glow, rippling like molten glass. His expression was calm, his voice colder than before. "You thought you could contain the Corps by refusing it, MS Lawson. But the moment it touched you, it found its perfect host." Claire's voice broke. "I'm not your experiment." "You're not," he replied. "You're its evolution." The gold light flared, reaching toward her like tendrils of liquid fire. She stepped back, shielding Evan behind her. "What do you want?" she screamed. "Completion." The voice said, "You unlocked what Hale began. He built the vault, you became it." The tendrils pulsed again, coiling in the air like living smoke. Evan clung to her leg, sobbing, "Make it stop. Please make it stop." Claire wrapped her arms around him, tears streaming down her face. "I'm trying, baby, I'm trying." The voice softened, almost compassionate. "You don't need to fight it. You've already proven yourself worthy. Together we can finish the sequence, we can restore balance. She gritted her teeth. By killing people, by turning this place into a graveyard, by cleansing it. The voice replied, by completing the design. Something shifted behind them. A low metallic groan echoed from the far end of the mall. The shutters of the old stores were opening, one after another, slow and deliberate. Claire turned, no. Inside each dark storefront, lights flickered on, soft, golden, rhythmic. The mannequins inside the display windows began to move. Slowly, jerky at first, then smoother, synchronized to the same pulse running through the walls. Evan screamed, "Mom!" Claire grabbed his hand, "Run!" They sprinted down the hall as the mannequins stepped out of the stores, lifeless faces turning toward them, movements mechanical yet eerily human. Their empty eyes glowed faint gold. "Don't look back," Claire shouted. The hum roared through the building now, deafening, rattling the glass. Every light flashed in rhythm, every speaker vibrating with overlapping voices. Hale, the silver-haired man, her own whispers, all tangled into one impossible chorus. The core is awake. Containment breached. Lawson's sequence initiated. She and Evan reached the maintenance corridor, slamming the door behind them. Her hands shook as she threw the bolt into place. The mannequins outside pressed against the glass, their fingers leaving streaks of gold across the window. Evan sobbed into her shoulder. "Mom, it's all alive." She held him tighter, her voice shaking. "It's not alive, sweetheart. It's remembering." The hum grew louder, angrier. The lights flickered red, then gold again. Claire turned back toward the basement door, the one that led to the vault. The air around it shimmered faintly. She understood now. The core wasn't trying to destroy the mall. It was trying to rebuild it, to reshape it in its own image, using her as the center. But if she was the key, then she could also be the lock. She took a deep breath. "Evan," she said softly, "you have to do something for me." He looked up, tears streaking his face. "What, when I tell you to run? You don't stop, you hear me, you go, you don't look back." His lip trembled. "No, Mom, you can't, promise me." He nodded slowly, tears falling. She cupped his face with both hands, kissing his forehead. "I love you more than anything, always remember that." Then she turned toward the basement door. The hum vibrated through her chest, almost welcoming. The golden light along the floor brightened as she approached, forming a path that pulsed in time with her heartbeat. She whispered, "All right, let's finish this." And as she stepped through the doorway, the glow swallowed her whole, sealing the world behind her in a wall of living gold. Somewhere deep below, the core answered with a sound that wasn't quite a hum anymore. It was breathing, it was waiting, and it knew her name. The descent felt endless. Claire moved through the spiral corridor beneath silver, wood like a ghost, every step echoing through the metallic throat of the earth. The golden light that had swallowed her upstairs now pulsed faintly along the walls, illuminating veins of crystal and metal that seemed to grow like roots. The deeper she went, the warmer it became, humid, alive, breathing. The hum was softer here, but closer, no longer around her, but within her. Every heartbeat felt synchronized to it, each pulse of her blood answering some hidden rhythm below. Behind her, the heavy vault door sealed shut with a deep clang, cutting off the world above. There was no going back now. She whispered into the silence, her voice trembling but steady. "You wanted me here. I'm here. Show me what you are." The corridor opened into a massive chamber. She stopped at its edge, breath catching in her throat. It wasn't man-made. The walls were smooth, curved like the inside of a vast ribcage. Strange markings spiraled upward, glowing faintly gold, ancient and mathematical all at once. In the center of the room stood a pedestal, sleek, metallic, humming with energy. Above it, suspended in the air, floated a sphere of light. It was hypnotic, fluid yet solid, gold yet translucent. Inside it, she could see shifting shape, structures, fragments, movements that felt almost like Memories, her voice came out barely a whisper. You're the core. The light shimmered in response. You see, at last. The words weren't heard. They vibrated directly through her body. It wasn't a sound. It was understanding translated into sensation. Claire swallowed hard. What are you? I am what they built to contain what they could not name. She stepped closer, her fear thinning into awe. You were never gold, never treasure. They called me currency because they worshipped value, but I am not theirs to own. Her mind raced. Then, what did Hale build the vault for? The sphere pulsed brighter, the markings along the walls reacting. Hale believed he was preserving wealth. In truth, he was preserving consequence. They stole from nations, buried their sins, and fed me power, energy, memory. Every lie has weight, and I was built to carry it. Claire's chest tightened. $450 million. That's what they said you held, not money. Energy once bound to gold, stripped of matter. 450 million units of guilt, fear, greed. She trembled. You're saying the fortune was never real. It was real enough to destroy them. She stumbled back, her mind flashing through everything. The ledgers, the coded accounts, the glowing vault, the missing men. All of it led here. Hale hadn't hidden a treasure. He had imprisoned the collective corruption of the men who built Silverwood, a living consequence of greed turned sentient. The core flickered again, softer now. And now you carry me. Claire froze. What? When you touched the vault, you completed the circuit, the human element. You gave me empathy, the one thing they never had. Her hand shook. You mean, I'm part of you. You are balance. The light without purpose is chaos. You give it meaning. Her mind reeled. I don't want this. I don't want to be your conduit. And yet, you stayed. You listened. You came back. Every human who fears power runs from it. But you came toward it. The light dimmed for a moment, almost tenderly. That is why you were chosen. She sank to her knees, covering her face. Tears stung her eyes. I'm just a mother trying to keep her son alive. I didn't choose this. Every choice you've made has brought you here, not for wealth, not for survival, but for redemption. Her breath hitched. Redemption. The walls around her flickered with images, memories not her own. Men in suits signing papers, gold bars loaded into crates, families evicted from their homes. Hale staring into the core for the last time before the lights went dark. And finally, Claire herself, standing in the atrium, holding her son's hand, surrounded by ruin and courage. Greed built me, you will free me. She looked up through her tears. How reveal the truth? They will come for what they think I am. Show them what I became. Her heart pounded. The men outside, they're still alive, aren't they? Alive but consumed. Their forms are data now, patterns of their intent, but they can be seen. Claire's voice trembled. You want me to expose them? The world must see what power really costs. She stood slowly, her strength returning through the trembling. The light around her steadied, responding to her heartbeat. The warmth that had terrified her now felt familiar. You want me to show the world what's hidden here? She said quietly. You want the truth to live where the lies were buried? Yes. She nodded, tears streaking her face but her voice firm now. Then help me do it. The core brightened, flooding the chamber in gold so intense it erased shadow. For a heartbeat, she felt suspended, weightless, surrounded by warmth and light that wasn't hers but through her. It filled her chest, her hands, her mind. Then take what I am, and make them remember. When the light dimmed again, she found herself standing at the edge of the chamber, the glow fading beneath her skin. Her reflection in the metal surface still shimmered faintly gold, but now, behind her eyes, there was understanding. She turned toward the tunnel that led back to the surface. The hum was no longer a threat. It was a promise. Claire whispered into the dark, her voice steady and sure. Time to bring you into the light. And as she began her ascent back to the world above, the core pulsed once more, a heartbeat of truth echoing through the bones of Silverwood Mall. The climb back to the surface was not silent. It was alive. The hum that once terrified Claire now pulsed with rhythm and intent, guiding her ascent. The tunnel shimmered faintly gold, like veins lighting up in response to her heartbeat. She wasn't walking through the mall anymore. She was walking through a living history, through the spine of the machine that had devoured men and money for decades. When she emerged into the lower atrium, the storm had broken open again. Rainwater poured through the shattered skylights, splashing across the marble, hissing when it touched the faintly glowing cracks in the floor. Evan was waiting. He stood where she'd left him, trembling but unhurt, his small hands clenched around the straps of his backpack. His eyes widened when he saw her. "Mom," Claire looked down at herself. The faint golden shimmer still traced her skin, pulsing beneath the surface like liquid light. She forced a shaky smile. "It's okay, honey, it's still me." He shook his head slowly, stepping closer. "You're glowing, I know." Her voice cracked, heavy with emotion. "But it's not hurting me anymore." The hum in the walls deepened slightly, like the core was listening, calm, patient, protective. Claire knelt and held Evan close, pressing her forehead to his. "We're almost done," she whispered. "I know what it is now. I know what they tried to hide." He clung to her. "Can we go home after?" "Yes," she said softly. "But first, I have to show the world what's underneath all this." Lightning flickered through the broken ceiling, illuminating the mall's vast interior. The collapsed fountain, the cracked glass, the corridors warped by time. It all looked like the bones of something ancient pretending to be human architecture. Claire rose, the hum following her movements like breath. She walked toward the old management office, the same room where she'd once found the ledgers. The door, once locked, now slid open by itself. Inside, the monitors had come alive. Every screen glowed with that same golden pulse, showing not just camera feeds from the mall, but fragments of something else: faces, documents, numbers, names, the stolen accounts, the shell companies. The fraud that had financed Silverwood's creation. It was all there, the proof. Claire's hands trembled as she approached the console. "You've been keeping this," she murmured,